Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alicia Brasher here at Cosmic Gateway, and I am very excited to have very special guests with me today. I'm joined by Dale Holmes. Dale, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I guess a little bit of a background. So, it's almost been a year since we've done a video together.
No
Um,
way. Been a
yeah,
year.
and I was thinking about that, and I was like, we've caught up a few times since then, and we had the very best intention to record a video together, and it just
Yeah,
never
yeah.
happened.
No, didn't we do one? We did one in Uluru. That was probably, was that like the last time?
Yeah, that was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about almost a year ago. Yeah.
hmm
Far out.
Not quite, but yeah, getting bordering on that,
Yeah.
and I just love how the universe sort of works in that way because I think we both got the memo just a couple of weeks ago. I sort of woke up and I had this kind of message, it's time to do a video with Dale. And then when we connected, I didn't even bring it up and you said, "Hey, is it time to
Yeah,
do a
I
video?"
just told you before, didn't I? People have
Yeah.
been asking me.
Yeah.
When I'm jumping. Yeah.
So
They're like,
here
what's
we
wrong? Where's Alicia? Like, fucking laughing, chill out. Yeah, all right. So we've got a bit to get through, don't we? Now that
we do. So I don't even know where to begin, but yeah, if you're watching this, get comfortable, get a drink, relax, and we're gonna probably dive into lots of different topics of, catching up on where we've been over the last almost 6 months. Can you believe we're almost halfway through the year? And obviously, I'd love to pick your brain in terms of like where you think it's all leading to, and how do you. I know that I really look forward to your interpretations. And I know a lot, I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people look forward to, you know, the way that you come to conclusions, how you observe patterns and what's happening in all the different pockets of this great change that we're in. So, yeah, where to begin? Well, before we start, I just want to make
how are you going anyway? Before we
huh?
begin, how are you? Good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a
You've
different
got
setting today.
where how come you haven't got your Cosmic
No,
Gateway banner on the back? You've ditched that now.
no,
Gone
I
the
knew you were
Egyptian
gonna. I
on
knew
the
you were
Egyptian theme. Yeah, I was going to say it before, but
gonna. No, I'm just working out of a couple of different locations at the moment, and this one just happens to be this setup, and
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be recording tomorrow in a different setting. So, just changing it up at the moment. But before we begin, I just wanted to make a special announcement and just say happy birthday to you, Dale, for a couple of days ago. How does it feel to be another year older?
38, 38.
30.
I don't know. The last few years I've been I start when someone asks my age, I start saying what I'm gonna be like 6 months before.
Yeah. So
Do you
you've
do
been,
that?
yeah.
I haven't consciously done that. I start saying like once I'm closer to that age, I just say that I'm that age. So
Mm.
I think maybe that's like a subconscious fear of getting older. So you just call yourself the year older, and then when you turn that age, it's like all right. But I mean, yeah, who cares? What does it matter? I'm like, yeah, I think, yeah, like being 38, I'm like, I think like after I did that fitness camp and that, like I'm feeling,
Mm.
I don't feel any older. I feel better. Besides being sick on my birthday again. That's another story.
What do you think about like in terms of, I know a lot of people have this theory or concept, and I know I do too, about like as we go through this shift in consciousness on the planet, do you think that we um, have the ability to stay young or stay in good?
100%.
Yeah. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about med bed technologies or anything like that, just more our energetic essence of allowing us to stay more youthful and have longer lives, healthier lives.
Well, do you know what I've noticed? And yeah, tell me if you think the same because I think you have like a harmonic convergence with the people you hang around with, or
Mhm.
like or even like what you believe your age to be. Because I know a lot of people that look way younger than they are, like way younger, and then other people look way older than they are. And
Mhm.
it's not and the people some of the people that look way younger don't necessarily live a lot
Mhm.
healthy, like they're not necessarily doing all the health. Can you hear that fan going? Is that okay? All good.
No.
Yeah, they don't necessarily. I'm like, what is it? But like, I know for me, like when I moved to Europe, I was like, all my friends were like 10, 12 years younger,
Mm.
and like I don't think like my lifestyle wasn't very very good when I was over there. But you start yeah, it's like a harmonic convergence with like younger people, but it's almost like once you start, you just believe you're younger,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
and then you look younger.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, I think I look my age, but I don't. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I
I mean, yeah. It's interesting thing, isn't it? But
yeah,
yeah, my point I was getting to is it's definitely a mentality. It's like it's your energy projection
yeah, yeah,
uh, that manifests as the way you look physically.
yeah.
So if you believe and act and feel younger, you're going to present as that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It makes me think of like years ago when I went through like a big surge in energy and I was like really lit and activated. And I remember going to a beautician for an appointment and she looked at me and a lot of people had said to me, "Oh my God, you're glowing. Like, what have you done?" I hadn't done anything, you know, it was just my energy was projecting in a different way. And when I went
Yeah.
to see her, I just got back from overseas and she said, "Did you have like Botox or like some sort of plastic surgery?" I was like,
Yeah.
what? So,
It's true that when yeah, like even just when you start when you're like feeling good, you're living, everything's kind of going well, and sometimes you just look in the mirror in the morning, you're like, fuck man,
mm,
I look pretty good. Like my eyes look good. Like, do you know what I mean? You
yeah,
have a different vibrant glow, and then like when you're feeling shit, you look like shit a lot of
yeah,
times. But
yeah.
I noticed my eyes definitely change when yeah
Mm,
when I'm feeling well.
yeah. I think we both have similar colored eyes, and I think they do reflect like general health and well-being. People who have green eyes, it kind of changes, and you can see the difference in it. But I don't know about you, but I've
Mine go really green
yeah,
when I'm feeling well. They go greener. Yeah.
yeah, same, same,
See,
and
kind of like yeah, we got like similar eyes, don't we?
hmm hmm yeah. I think
I
yours
was
are more on the brown green spectrum, mine or on the blue green spectrum.
yeah.
But
Well, I was talking to oh, I think I told you about last year. I was talking to a friend, and she's all over freaking reading eyes and everything else. And yeah, she said like she's like, oh shit, you've got the same eye. I had the same eyes as her, and she's like, yeah, that's really rare. I can't remember what percentage she said, but it was quite small.
interesting. That's really fascinating. I think
Yeah,
green is is the rarest kind. I
yeah,
um I heard that somewhere. I can't quote it, but you want to know another interesting thing about green eyes? You're gonna
yeah.
love
Tell me,
this one.
reptilian. Nah, yeah, go on.
Years ago when I was doing a lot of search around contact, ET contact, galactic contact, that type of thing, and I found a study of research that was done of thousands of people who'd had some sort of like off-world contact, and um, they were trying to find data that was kind of correlating um, how this phenomena happens. You know, is it by gender? Is it by race? Is it by age? Is it by, you know, whatever? And what there was two things that they found that were common correlation. I can't remember what the second one was, but the first one was people with green eyes.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Mm,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, it's like it's kind. Do you think like the green eyes are more of a hybrid mix because you got your blue-eyed race and then you got your brown-eyed race and then
Mm,
the greens are in between all the different variations. Yeah.
mm, possibly, possibly. Yeah, I think
You got
anyway.
I mean, all the black races are like dark eyes. The Asian races are all dark eyes,
Mm,
and then and then the blue eyes is more. That's like your Nordic and your
mm,
British Isles and stuff like that, isn't it?
hmm
And then there's mixtures.
hmm Yeah. I don't know about your ancestry, but mine's very mixed. Is
Yeah,
your
mine's mixed. Yeah, well, I've got like it's Italian and British, but like Southern Italian. If you got Southern Italian, you probably got Northern African, Middle East, all the
Yeah.
everything in between. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's a mixture of a lot of different European cultures, but also Chinese. So there you go.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any Chinese blood that I know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
my great grandfather came to Australia. Well, he was intending to go to the US, and him and his
yeah.
brother were, you probably know this story, but him and his brother were getting on the boat to go to the US, and they got separated at the docks, and he got on the wrong boat and ended up in Australia. And so
Yeah, what's worse? It's like my grandfather too. Like at the a lot of my grandparents found they moved to like Canada
Mm,
from Italy, and then a few of them moved over here.
mm,
But
maybe.
yeah, it's that one little moment of destiny, and like think of the ripple effect of
Yeah,
how
right.
different all the generations will be just by that one person's decision, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you know, like Bendigo too. There's like a lot of people have it's the widest town in Australia, and it's like 80 something percent Cornish descent, but
Mm,
a lot of people have Chinese
mm, mm.
ancestry in Bendigo too from the 1800s, and a lot of people actually have like Chinese last names. So that
Interesting.
yeah, the Chinese last names of like, and they're fully like they just look European white, but and you can kind of see in some of them they got, but yeah, like I knew a lot of people, and they kind of just had that little Chinese
Mm,
playing in their eyes.
hmm.
So yeah, that's even interesting too. Now with like the cycle coming up with like what's happening with China now too, and there's actually a lot of Chinese blood here.
Mm. And it goes way back, doesn't it? That's, yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but that's fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, we're going down
yeah, we
ancestry.
haven't started. Hurry up, let's go.
All right. Well, I
Where are
guess
we gonna go?
the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because I'm curious, and this is one of the reasons why we reconnected just in the last few weeks, was financial, the financial system, and where are we with that, and where do you feel it's heading? Because for me, well, I kind of laugh. I've been waiting for this change in the financial system for like 7 years, thinking it's imminent for 7 years.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but I think from what we've seen that's already started to transpire this year with the banks, Silicon Valley, things like that, bank runs, I think the writing's on the wall. That's the phrase that comes to me. The writing's on the wall. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
Um, what are your thoughts on like
yeah,
where we are?
yeah. I mean, it's been inevitable. Well, since the creation of debt-based money, that system has to collapse. I mean, there's so much like if you're looking at geopolitics, even on the surface, everyone's pulling away from the US dollar. Like even the fact the Saudis are now pulling away from the dollar. Um, it's a done deal. I still cannot believe it hasn't collapsed yet. And it's even at this point they're talking about, they're going to raise the debt ceiling in the US again, from 30 whatever trillion to, like it's insane. And you still get these mainstream media economists and stuff that get on and start talking about the economy, and like as if there's any way out of this. It's like I don't know if they're so transfixed, like if they're absolute morons or just or shills for the agenda. I think a lot of them are absolute morons. Like I know people that have gone in to do like financial planning and stuff and got like a financial advisor, and these people they don't know anything. They don't know what money is. That
Mm,
like David Icke used to always talk about it. Like no one ever asks the question, "What is money?" Like if you got to like what is money? It's like it's debt.
mm,
And actually, I listened to this really really interesting interview the other week. I find the lady's name. She was awesome. She was speaking a lot about um, she's speaking of heaps of different stuff, but she was talking about the genesis of money, and this really rang home. Um, that the only reason that there is this fractional reserve lending and the banking system and a whole credit based system is because of that is a belief system that's based off debt that we have to pay. You have to pay back.
Mm.
And that's so if you go to the genesis of that, or it's even in Genesis, right? That if we believe that we come into this earth of sin, then you need to pay back debt. So it's like, um, and what they want to do with the new central bank digital currency is they're trying to um, create a credit based system that you buy your way to certain freedoms, right? And it's the same thing. So if you go back to the core that we are as humans are, we come in debt, where you're born of debt, born of sin,
Mm.
then you must pay back.
Mm.
So it's like anything. I always go to, like, what's the genesis of the issue? The genesis is like you don't believe you have it all, and that you need to that you're born of debt.
Mm.
I just thought that was interesting. But
Mm. Yeah.
as far as like the surface level, because that it's nice to talk about that, but then people at the end of the day, well, I've got to fucking pay the bills. Because I know when I talk about this sort of stuff, and they go, well, that's all well and good, but fuck you, like how am I going to get? It's true.
How does that relate to me here and now? Yeah. Mm.
Because that's because I did a video this week on Hero's Journey again. And the whole point of it is like you're the master of two worlds, so you got to operate with it with that knowledge,
Mm.
and then how do you implement it? So I mean, they're saying there could be 16% foreclosure on homes in Australia by the end of the year if there's another two rate hikes. So I mean, they do it. It's usually the October, November period. That's like based on the ritual. And
Yeah.
that's why they do Halloween. That's why they do Halloween on the 31st, because it's the harvest time in the Northern Hemisphere. And the crash is going to come from the Northern Hemisphere. So it's based on that. It's based on that yearly calendar. So I think we've spoke about this the last 2 years. I said the crash is in October, November, and then that year passed, and that. So here we are again. So look, if it's not this year, fuck, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't think the economy could hold until end of 24, because like everything else, it's even like with the COVID stuff, it was in China for a month, and there was a bit of and then it moved to Iran, and like there's going to be incremental steps. I don't see like there will be a big one day you wake up 1929, it's like it's collapsed, but I see a lot of forewarning.
Yeah.
So, and like we're already getting that now with certain banks collapsing. They're talking in the mainstream media a bit, um, about hiking up interest rates and lowering spending and all this sort of. So they're telling you. You
Mm.
just need to, the people that are completely unaware are going to be caught.
Mm.
They're going to be caught with their pants down, like people that are still relying on their superannuation that doesn't exist.
Speaking of which, can I just interject because that was on my list.
Yeah.
that I caught up with a friend of mine last week for lunch, and we were chatting, and she said to me that she had been pulling out her super and creating it like a self-managed fund and using that to buy gold and silver, and
Yeah.
successfully did that, and has now every person she's come in contact with has been helping them do that. And she was like, spread the word. I asked her, I said, can I share this? She's like, spread the word, because people don't know that you can actually do that. Um, and anyway, so she's been going in buying gold and silver. That's absolutely her thing. And she said that the place is getting busier and busier every time she goes in. More and more people, which I think is great, because it's showing that people are taking responsibility, doing what they feel guided to do, that's going to help support them. And I think it's also, helping kind of deconstruct the system at the same time. So I thought I'd just sort of put that one out there.
A lot of people are doing it. It's I mean, Jared Rennick, he has a go at he hammers super all the time in the Senate, and he said it perfectly. He said that superannuation it should be fucking illegal. It's a communist structure.
Yeah.
They steal your money,
Mm.
that we never voted on. And like, it's a good chunk of your money. And it's, again, if you go the genesis of it, they're saying you are not responsible enough human being to look after yourself. So we're going to steal your money and we're going to lose it all.
Mm.
And they're saying like these super funds and stuff, they're worth more than the Australian economy. And the
Oh.
money doesn't stay in Australia. It doesn't go into like building in, like if that money was taken, like even if they wanted to develop a system and they had that, and that all that money went into building Australian infrastructure, um we should be living like Dubai on steroids in this country. Like it's unbelievable. Like honestly, well, we got 28 million people.
Mm.
We're taxed to the hilt. We got the most ridiculous amount of resources in this country. Um, that's what people are going to realize. So like we should be Australia. The whole of Australia should be a Dubai, and people are like can't afford to pay rent in this country. And I think we got the highest in the world wage wage income to house price like differential in the world. It's unbelievable, but yeah, we just got like it's going to be tough. Like when people start foreclosing houses, this is what David Icke used to say years ago too. Here's a good like strategy. It's because no one cares unless it affects them. When they start foreclosing homes, it's like because you couldn't pay back the debt
Mm.
on the money that they printed, that they lowered it so point, and that they've deliberately hiked it up to steal your land. Why should you tolerate that?
Yeah.
It's like just don't leave your house.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why they can't. If they try and collapse it all in one hit, you
Mm.
would get a big resistance because you'd have the people united. But if they do the slow incremental
Mm.
raising of interest rates, then it just knocks off a few more at a time, and no
Mm.
one really cares until it affects them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really valid point. I've always seen it, uh, two things that come to mind. I've always seen it in my visions that have never changed, that it is um yeah, it starts in the US and then it moves to Europe and then it hits Australia as like a domino effect. And there's this period of chaos because of that, because it does impact everyone and it kind of brings everything to a what the fuck moment kind of thing. Um, but I think that period is then a changeover, and I don't think the chaos lasts that long. I think that I'd like to believe that this has been very well played out in the background for a long time of how that changeover will occur and however that looks. I don't think anyone truly knows. But
Yeah,
I had a message in a dream come through 2 nights ago, like saying in regards to that, like you're already in it, like it's already begun and has been in progress for some time, but it's only going to get more obvious out there and kind of accelerating in its pace. So yeah.
everything that's I don't know how everyone can't see this. Whatever the agenda is flipped. Everything will be rolled out and flipped. There, I mean, you even seen it with Trump now that they brought up this Jean King lady or whatever, and he's paid us $5 million civil lawsuit that he raped her or whatever. And, they're all hammering him for it. And now Tara Reid, who accused Biden of rape years ago, now she's coming back in. So it's like everything they do is flipped.
Mm.
And so I do see the central bank digital currency coming in. They'll crash it, bring that in, and then that's going to be overridden by another system. It's that's already set up. It'll be flipped.
Yeah.
Um, but people will be losing it because, and I think that's like a real test period. That'll be like the period when the injections came in. It was like people thought because people thought, oh, that was it forever. We're going to be locked out of places forever. We can't travel. Like I've been overseas. We couldn't work for about 5 months, and then basically all professions except a couple have gone back. So that's the testing period. Can you survive that 4 month or whatever period it is when they bring in the central bank currency? Like how are you going to navigate that?
Mm.
Are you going to dabble in it for a bit to survive,
Mm.
or are you going to completely remove from it? And like, I don't think there's any right or wrong, but it's
Mm.
a test period again to see where to see where people are at, but it's not going to last forever. So know when that period's going on that, yeah, that's why if you know the higher perspective, it's all right to fight the fight because you're not going to be fighting it forever.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of interested. I mean, like I'm excited to see that happen. And like it's some sort of sadistic part of me like wants to see this chaos. Like I just kind of want to like that's fucked up. But like I think we need to see it too. And I think like there will be military in the streets eventually. That could be a couple of years away. I don't know if that's collapse or whatever, but I think that that's going to be done too, because the flip will be if we're in a war scenario and there's military in the streets, then there's international military law, right? Then these people can be tried under military law, which is I think that's the path that they're going down. I don't necessarily believe in it, but that's what I see happening.
I feel that very strongly, and I was thinking about that this morning because when you asked earlier how have I been, I'm like, well, it's been a growth period for me this year, and I think since the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I've gone through another up level in my own sensitivity, which always takes a period of adjustment and to work out. And it's like I feel everything, and sometimes I have no context for what I'm feeling. And I've felt into exactly what you just said. A lot of what you've just said, I felt it sort of moving through my system, and I generally feel things a little bit in advance. And there's been this theme around like arrests and like um, justice being served and like all this kind of, and I have no context for that in my life, but
I
it's
mean,
also been,
you don't follow it. You don't follow it like
and that's
crazy, do you? I mean,
no, and
you
that's the,
keep an eye. You're not, yeah, you're not sitting there watching.
and I think maybe that's part of the problem is the fact that I have really distanced myself from news and what's going on. And when I do dive back in there, it puts a lot of the dreams that I have, the feelings, the energy that I'm experiencing, it puts a lot in context for me and go, oh, okay, so maybe I should follow along. That's why I like talking to you, because then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but there's no right or wrong with that either. It's I'm the same. Like I pull away from it from a bit, but then I'm like I just I fucking got to know what's going on. That's kind of like another program. So I just and the thing is, like you used to be able to take like a month off from this shit years ago, and they do like something crazy every month but it's like daily now. So that's part of the hook that draws you in. I was talking to mum yesterday. Mum goes, oh, I just don't fucking believe anything anymore. Like, and I'm like, that's the program, mum. That's actually the desired outcome. That they actually want you because it's all about it's like military mind control where you take the soldier in and you strip them, like you put them through all this rigorous training, you strip them bare, and then you install a new belief system. And that's kind of that's being done like everything that'll be flipped too, but that's being done by both sides where so many people I hear that all the time now, like I don't fucking believe anything. And you can't blame them
No.
because the stuff's so absurd that's like so but I think that is part of the program to like not believe anything. But it's kind of good because then you go back to you have to completely go on your intuition.
I was about to say that. I was about the positive side of not knowing what to believe or not believing anything anymore in the holographic simulation that we're, living through, is that it brings us back to a place of what is true for us and coming back to
Yeah.
yourself. And I think that
I,
is,
st- I still think there is an objective truth. There's still an objective truth, but it's like you have to find it. You're not going to research this shit.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I want to go back two things that you said, like going way back, and you were making the analogy between like what we lived through over the last couple of years regarding the vaccines and mandates, and how that was a testing period for what we're probably going to go through financial changes and potentially military on the street. And I love the fact that I've never thought about it like that. So I'm glad that you put it in that context of that was a training ground of a experience that so many of us, well, we all went through to know how to navigate the next big thing. And I think that's
Yeah.
been, everyone can feel something's coming, but we don't know, exactly what it is. I put high bets on it's the financial shift, but I guess that's something that when it's happening, and if you do panic or go into fear, remember that. Remember, you've already lived through something similar and you came out of it on top, or so I think that's one thing.
Yeah.
But also, while you're talking about Trump, can I just share something? Um,
Yeah.
I haven't had Trump dreams for a long time. I did in the beginning, starting in
No
2016.
Trump dreams.
Yeah. No, I've
Yeah.
had another one. I had another one.
Oh, did you?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a couple of years ago, but yeah, nothing
Nothing.
since. Anyway, yeah,
Well,
no, nothing.
the original one that I had was just before he came into office, and Trump. Just to give context of the Trump and I was actually sitting in a tire in a massive swamp, and I'm sitting there going, "What am I doing here?" And then I look around, and then I see him in a tire sitting beside me, and he looked at me and he started to pick up rubbish, and he looked at me and goes, "I guess we have to clean this up now." And
Fuck.
yeah, so that was the first one, and that
Was that 2016?
mhm, yeah, that was probably, I think, a few weeks before he came into office, so it would have been around October 2016 that I
Yeah.
had that dream. um and so I've had a couple since then, and then in the last probably a few weeks ago, I had another dream very, very similar. So the first one, if you can imagine, I was in this swamp that went for miles and miles and miles. Like you couldn't, that's all you could see. This one, I was in, I, I was standing in a room, and there was like this muddy pond, so swamp-like, but it was very, very, very small. Um, and I had to get across it without getting dirty. And I was trying to work out how I could manage to sort of jump over it. And when I looked across, Trump was on the other side of it, coaxing me, saying, "Come on, come on, come on." And I woke up, I'm like, "What?" But like how I interpret that was like the how much had been, if you want to contrast the two dreams, went from this massive swamplands to now it's just a muddy pond in terms of how much cleanup has occurred between 2016 and now.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, well, I told you about my one, didn't I?
Probably.
It's a, it's like it was basically the same thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I was. This was a few years ago. I still remember this dream. I can't remember all the detail, but it was like Noah's Ark scenario. There was a big boat, and they were trying to rush me, and I was trying to help people on the boat and animals and shit, right? And then we get on the boat, and Trump is like the captain of the boat, and then we set off on the boat, and it was like a swamp. The water was all dirty and stuff, and then the boat was full of shit, like actual like. Remember I told you that?
Yeah, I
I mean, it's
remember that.
a bit sick, but this is my dream. Whether it's my subconscious or not, I don't know. But yeah, there was shit everywhere, like human shit, and they were like people like throwing it around and stuff, and then we had to clean all the shit off the boat. It was a fucked up dream, but it's kind of the same thing, right? You
Yeah.
like boat, swamp, dirty, and yeah. I don't know where those things come from. If that's my subconscious, if
Mm,
that's like a fucking implanted
mm,
part, if that I don't know what that is, but it's pretty weird that we had similar.
mm. I don't know. I mean, it could be. I don't know for certain, but I think sometimes a lot of dreams that we have are like metaphoric or symbolic to give us like clues and detailed information to kind of connect our own intuition with where things are at. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I feel potentially. Um, so
Yeah, well,
interesting.
sometimes I wake up from a dream and I'm like, I can decode. I'm like, I know exactly what that is telling me. And other times I'm like, That makes no sense at all. But a lot of the time, I mean, dreams are pretty easy to decode. Usually, well, some of them, if it's something that's relevant to what's happening then, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have
But
you
my
been
my
think
my main theme in dreams is being chased. That's still actually I had one the other day, and I always hide. I usually hide in the dream. I try and run, but I can't run, so I find a closet or under a bed or something like a coward, right? And I hide. And but this one, I had a dream of the Bendigo Masonic Hall,
Mm,
which is the Capitol Theatre,
mm.
and I told you about this too, didn't I?
Yeah, I
Did I
think
tell you?
so. Yeah, I think so.
And so I went to go up in the Masonic Hall, like turn the corner. So I went in the Capitol Theatre, but I was like a ghost or like a spirit. I
Mm.
was flying, like flying, and I had like Casper the Ghost like tail, and I was going in, and then I went to turn up to go up the Masonic Hall, and then I just like felt, oh, like I can't go up there, like you're in serious danger, and I just
Mm.
turned around and came back out. But that was a different dream because normally I would just be in pure fear and hide,
Mm.
whereas I just turn around and so mine have kind of changed over the years too because I told you that other one I used to get the repeating one. I'm in this haunted house with this weatherboard house in a farm, and someone's coming upstairs to kill me, and they've already killed all these other kids. But then I had that dream like a year ago, and then
Mm.
someone actually started smashing on the window to come in and get me.
Mm.
I was just like, I was abusing it, and I just like got up and fought them, and I was like, "Fuck you, fuck you, motherfucker!" like I was scared, but I'm like, "Fuck you," and yeah, I woke up. That was the first time I'd like really fought back in a
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do you feel like, no, I'm not going to put words into your mouth. How do you feel like you've evolved as the dreams have changed and progressed? Like how
That's yeah, loss of fear. It definitely correlated to
Mm.
my walking life and like stripping barriers of fear,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah. That to me is pretty clear. And I think that's awesome that you can understand that, and also how much how far you've come over the last couple of years and how your dreams are reflecting that. So that's pretty cool.
I still can't. I told you I used to lucid dream all the time as a kid, but I don't do it anymore. But that's what I heard in lucid dream. So if you're being chased and if you can lucid dream, and then you're like,
Mm.
oh fuck, I'm in the dream, you just turn around and confront the person,
Yeah,
and that energy is supposed to
yeah.
um then manifest in your real life because you
Hmm.
face the fear subconsciously. Do you lucid dream? Nah. Did you used
Now,
to? I used to all the time. I don't anymore.
lucid dreaming is one thing that I've never, at least to my memory, is one thing. I mean, I have very active dream spaces. Like every night, I'm gallivanting all over. Like
Yeah.
dreams are my thing, but lucid dreaming, no, no.
It's lucid dreaming such a cool power because there's like a moment you're in the dream, you don't know you're lucid dreaming, and then you go, oh, I'm in a dream. And then you're like, yes. And then so you have complete control of the dream.
Mm.
So like you're not controlling this is how I used to do it. I wouldn't control what was playing out. So stuff would play out around me, but I could control my actions.
Yeah, okay.
And and then if I did something and I didn't like what I'd done, I would just reverse the dream. I'd just go,
Mm.
okay, I'll rewind back
Mm.
and then I'll do it again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then like if I was being attacked sometime, I generally wouldn't face the attacker, but then so if they were attacking me and I'm like, oh, like you're dreaming. It's like it's all right. And I just go, just wake up, and then I'd wake up.
That's cool.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do that for years, but I used to. It was a cool feeling.
Mm, mm.
'Cause
Very
yeah,
nice.
you're kind of controlling. You're kind of like controlling your reality.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like you can go forward and backwards, and you can change things, and you can redo things, and
yeah.
yeah, you can
Mm.
bring people in, and it's wicked.
Oh, it's so interesting you say that because I woke up this morning and I'm going through a new phase of dream space that I'm trying to understand. And the reason I say that is I had up until maybe this year, I had like 7 different types of dreams and how to interpret them, what they were, how, and now I feel like there's a new landscape in my dream space of something that I don't fully understand. This is, as I said, this is a learning phase for me. And when I inquired this morning after waking up, going, what the hell was that? I got 2 things. I got that it's processing a lot of, sorry, it's 2 things. One is changing the nature of our, like, there's an adjustments that are happening in the in our dream space that directly correlate with our current or present reality. So there's like adjustments and shifts being made in helping us subconsciously process fears or challenges or how to navigate through certain circumstances and situations in our present life. There's like this energetic adjustment or shifting that's taking place. And the other thing is that we're merging into our future timelines. And I've had a lot of that recently where I'm doing things that I know that I'll be doing in the future, but it's like I'm tapping into the future version of myself energetically in the dream space. So there's 2 things at play is what I was told. So I'm still to explore that. But one really cool thing that came through was very dominant theme in April, and that's probably one of the reasons why I want to talk to you about the financial thing was I had a string of dreams for weeks that were talking about extreme financial abundance coming through. And this is not just for me personally, it was for everyone. And I've spoken to a lot of people who had that same theme playing out around the same time. So I was like, I don't know, it kind of made me excited that I was like, I think we're in for some good times once we get through the hard part. And I guess that's a question that I have for you. How do you, once things have hit rock bottom, transformed and changed, how do you see um, money, finances, abundance, and society playing out?
Are you still there? You just cracking up a
Oh,
little bit.
can you hear me?
No, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it was a bit delayed. Yeah,
Oh,
you good?
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good at my end.
Um, you said how do I?
How
I
do you,
guess
how do you see the change once we come through the other side in regards to economics and financial system?
yeah. I mean, it'll be abundance to the nth degree compared to like
Mm,
people won't know. People won't know
mm,
what abundance is until we get through this because but like I said, that the stripping down for that to come in is like that we have to lose this belief in debt. Um,
oh, yeah. Oh,
there has to be that because you can't build a system of abundance because everything's energy. If we still have a collective belief system that we're in debt, that we are born of sin. So like I think that plays a big part of it that we have to believe we're abundant, and then all the lies we're sold about the earth and like so-called fossil fuels and all these things that are in mass abundance and like
mm,
coal and oil that are completely
mm,
um, rejuvenating. But the other thing is too we're going to move away because a big part of what they're showing us now with the energy crisis amongst every other crisis. So like all money is tied to um, the creation of like everything that's created
mm,
on this earth
mm,
comes comes from a fuel source or
mm.
energy, and the whole monetary system and debt system's been based on that.
Yeah.
And the argument now is between renewables or fossil fuels. So they're given it and the 2 options, and clearly the fossil fuels are better than them. But they never talk about the third option that we don't need. We don't need either of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the future abundance that's coming in, it's definitely going to be technologically driven.
Mm,
Uh, that because I do see like this benevolent artificial intelligence being used,
yeah.
and that is going to be that it's just going to make everything easier, and then to the point where people have time for actual creation of what we're here to do. Like,
Thank you.
because
Yes.
everything, it's all robbing us of time, really. The
Mm-hmm.
whole slave system is to just rob you of time. When you've got free energy, you've got time to create.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like yeah, like if you look at the buildings and stuff of the past and that's like that's an abundant period. That
Mm-hmm.
that clearly didn't come from a time of scarcity. You don't look at the buildings now in a time of scarcity that so dull and mundane. And so I think that like everything will become beautiful. Like once there's abundance, then what else do you have to do but express yourself, express your creativity? But then, so like I'm still seeing two splits. I'm seeing a technological resurgence and abundance, and that will help create abundance. And there'll be others that'll be more tended towards nature and the land, and abundance within that as well. And then probably everything in between, the people will mix between the technological world and the organic world. But it's, you just have to take the parasite out, because the whole system is designed and set up by a parasite. That everything you do, it all feeds back to this central entity. Like if you look at the whole banking system, they don't create anything. They literally do. Central banks do nothing. They offer fake money that they never created, and then charge you interest on nothing that they created from nothing. And then when you can't pay that back, they steal all the land. It's the perfect hijack system, and it's like, it's amazing that we've tolerated it for so long. Obviously, consciousness was not at the point that you try and explain this to people, and they go, "Well, what are you going to do?" And you're like, "Mate, this is it's a slave system. It's a parasite system." And so, like, once the parasite's removed, then. But again, I said, like, it goes back to that core that, like, you can't create abundance if you don't believe you're abundant. So if you believe you're born in debt, then how can you create abundance?
Yeah. I love that you threw that in, because that's come up for me recently. I kind of got this intuitive, because it's been a big topic that's kind of been running through my system. And I think probably part of that is like being in Taurus season too, you know. And this one morning I was walking with Dad, and all of a sudden I got this download about this technique to work on, like, working with your energy to reinstall and access that abundant frequency that is our birthright, everybody's birthright. And it was like, change your frequency, because while you're connected, which we are, we're all still connected to the old system to some extent. It's impossible not to be. Well, I'm sure there's like few that aren't, but generally speaking, and that just siphons energy and induces fear and scarcity and keeps us in a rat race, which disconnects us from having time to invest in our creativity, which then produces more life force energy. Like, it's this whole thing, right? And it was like, when people talk about manifesting abundance or having abundance in their life in all areas, I'm not just talking financial, you can't kind of welcome in and fully anchor that experience while your energy is still connected to the system and still runs this program of fear or poverty or scarcity or lack. And so anyway, I did this beautiful, I've been working with this energy technique for a few days now, and it's been marvelous to work with. And then I was guided to record it last night. I put it up, it's on YouTube now, a version of it, because I was like, I want everyone to experience being able to, like, vibrate and be in alignment with their, you know, their birthright of abundance, and to, you know, flip this whole system.
But
Sorry,
that's why
I get really excited and passionate.
I hear these Christian ministers, they go, you know, if you ask God for abundance, you'll be abundant. I'm like, mate, if it's like, if the creators run that show, then like clearly all the abundance on this planet has been hijacked by the dark force. So how the fuck are they getting it if they show me? Right? But it's, it is. It's like we don't believe we're worthy. That's what it goes back to, that debt. You're born of sin, you're born of debt. Pick up your freaking, you know, pick up the scraps at the bottom because you're a slave, right? Because you're born of debt.
And I think
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest things that we have incarnated during this time is to flip that, because that's we've been a
yeah,
system for a long time, as a race of beings. And I think it's time to go back to um, the organic nature. I mean, we've spoken about this so many times, but that's where we're at. That's where that's our
they had
destiny.
to. Yeah, they had to. You can't bring in any of this system unless they hijack the mind first. They had to hijack. They had to hijack the mind and the psyche to that we would believe that this is a system.
Mm.
That's how they've done it. It's like everyone trying to think their way out of it. I actually watched The Host last night. Have you seen The Host?
Mm-mm.
It's this movie where this alien race comes into Earth and they take over 99% of the planet. And what the alien race is just they're like this little squid octopus thing, like it's just a little glowing ball. But how they take over is they inject them into the back of people's heads and then they're taken over.
Uh,
And in the movie, there's a girl, she gets one put in her, but her soul is like too strong that she's like talking to the host, the person that's taken over the body, right? And they kind of near the end, they kind of integrate those two. They start working together.
mm,
Um, but there was a really interesting line at the end of the movie because they're trying to they were capturing these bodies that have been taken over and they were cutting these entities out of them,
mm,
but then they would kill the person in the process. And actually, it's the back of the head too, so it's the reptilian brain. So they're kind of telling you about that reptilian energy that came in here and hijacked these bloodlines.
mm,
But yeah, the girl that's the host, this person that integrated with the other person,
mm,
she says you're doing it wrong. Like you don't need to kill us. You can't do it with force. She
mm,
said you'll never be able to do it with force.
mm.
And she does like an acceptance of that being, and it just pulls itself out. So it's like
Oh,
it was a pretty cool
mm,
it was a pretty cool theme because that's what I've said from the start. Whereas people just want surface level. It's like, oh well, let's just lock them up.
mm,
It's like, no, that's like that. You can't get rid of that energy that is hijacking these bloodlines that's
mm,
running this agenda on the human level. You can't kill them
mm,
because
mm.
they just keep incarnating
They-
back in. They're
Yeah.
not a physical problem. It's an energy that's being allowed to come into this planet because it's magnetized with the energy of victimhood. So that's what's allowing it to continually come back in. A lot like I said about the debt with the finances, that it's the
Mhm,
same thing. That energy will continue to parasite
mhm,
until the people say that we're not going to be parasited anymore.
mhm.
And that only comes with like understanding what you are, and that's why we're going through this whole process of all these initiations to smash us to the point where we're like, no, we're
Yeah.
properly done with you. Because if everything came out now, the learning still hasn't occurred. I'm
Mm,
sorry, it hasn't.
mm,
So, and you're not going to get rid of that energy.
mhm, mhm. That so well put, Dale. Thank you so much. It reminds me of a couple of things, and I think we've spoken about this before. It was like I had this download, probably 12 months ago or more, about like we won't see this massive shift of consciousness on this planet until a vast majority of the population shift their like victim mentality or poverty conscious, well, one and the same or both, as that
Yeah, it's the
energy.
same.
They shift that energy, it changes everything in, the collective field. Going back to basing it on what you said very early on, when you hang around a group of people, you start to morph and become more like them, more youthful or whatever. So, tipping point of people just having enough and just going, nah, it changes everything. And remember, it's that remembering of who we truly are. So,
Have you ever noticed like pockets of people, like even just little friendship groups, and they all act the same?
mhm.
It's fucking so weird. Do you know what it is? I've started I've noticed that over the years, and like I particularly want to go back to Bendigo. There's like different little subgroups I go to. I'm like, use all. They actually start talking like not about the same things. They start talking in the same tone. They start having the same mannerisms. They start walking like everything. And it's usually there's like a dominant one, right? He or she wants to be whoever they are, right? And then again, this is like this externalizing the hero thing. People are attracted to that dominant person, and they feel the energy coming from that person, so they start to mimic that person because they want to be like them, right?
Mm.
And then the whole group starts doing that, and this is why you see these friendship groups, and I'm like, you all act the same. You're all little fucking sheep mimickers, and then you can pick the head one who they've all copied, right? I've seen it even like some people, they all laugh the same, so they start mimicking people's laugh.
Mm.
Whereas like that's what I see. Like if you want to talk about abundance, and that's everyone expressing their own creativity and uniqueness, that like you
Yeah.
don't have the. I mean, like yeah, groups have like similar interests and stuff, but your
Mm.
personality is
Mm.
you. You're not trying to.
Mhm.
It's pure insecurity,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that's been majority of people. Look, I've fucking the reason I understand that too is because I've done that when I was younger. Right? You see the dominant and you mimic him, and then you're like,
Mm.
fuck, I'm such a bitch. Like, that's not even me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, the good thing is you can like identify and call yourself out.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, yeah, I think what comes up for me as you share that is one thing that in the past has really triggered me, and I had to get down to the core of why that is people that mimic, copy, plagiarize. You know, I've had this done. I know a lot of people have taken my work and not credited me for it over the years, and that really got me going. And I was like, why? Why does that, you know? And I think when I got to the crux of it, it made me really sad that people can't tap into their own creativity, that they feel that they have to mimic or replicate someone else, which will never have the same essence to it, right? You can take someone else's work and put it under your own name, but it's not going to have the same
Yeah.
potency. And I think what that really stems from is, yeah, this sadness of like everyone has this unique essence about them of their own creativity to tap into, and when we don't have that, yeah, it's well, I guess it's a part of the AI in society that it doesn't have its own
Mm.
uniqueness and creativity. It just replicates, it just copies
Well,
it.
that's okay. So I'm just thinking that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
What we're just talking about, because those people mimicking, right? If you're looking at the human level,
Mm.
that one person that's being themselves, that's like the creator, right? They're like the creator, and these are all these. That it's the same energy. They're
Mhm.
because they're mimicking it.
Mhm.
That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
and actually is part of the yeah collective hive mind sort of stuff. But it's like whatever's that's happening on the high level is happening here. It's the exact same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, fuck wow,
Yeah.
definitely it.
I totally
Wow.
got it with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna think into that a lot more. I
Mm.
think you're 100% right.
Mhm. And when
Because
people
everything's is expressed here that's happening on other levels.
Mhm.
Everything. Wow.
Dale's just got, I can see.
Yeah, I can't expect. Yeah, yeah, you're definitely onto it.
And I think just on the human level is why people, whether it's conscious or subconscious, mimic others, um, is because they see that energy and essence and they want that. And so they think that they have to do the same to be that when they don't realize that they have their own uniqueness within them to make their own personal connection and access that within. But anyway, we could go on a rabbit hole. I still have other questions, Dale.
All
And
right, yeah.
um, you mentioned the hero's journey, and I know that's a big thing that you love to dive into, and you have recently. I know that you put out a video, I think I asked you this question the very first interview that we sat down.
Yeah,
To chat.
yeah. Yeah, you did.
And I want to ask you that question again. Um,
All right.
where do you feel that we're at collectively in the hero's journey storyline?
Yeah, it's like um yeah, it depends. There's all there's all different layers of it playing out. There's like I follow like the so even I think even like there is a collective earthly hero's journey playing out. There's definitely one with Trump playing out.
Mhm.
Um, that's why like I even
Do you think he'll
that's why
come back?
yeah, well he has to in the story,
Okay.
he has to.
Mm,
There's the return.
mm,
But he may not become president because there's that transmutation that takes place. So um yeah, because okay, yeah, so where we're at, like I like you spoke about COVID being the trial, so that's
mm,
there's usually the three initiations. There's there can be multiple. There's always like because Joseph Campbell put in 17 parts into it. But if you just look at the three initiations before the belly of the whale, it doesn't look like we've quite hit the belly of the whale. That's that's the final learning, really.
mm, mm,
And then because I put up a video showing how I was listening to a lot of music, and I'm like, this story plays out in music. You can hear it because you have like there's like the slow music, then it goes into the first verse, and that's like the initiation, and then the chorus is when you've integrated the first initiation. So like
mhm,
when you've come out of the COVID period and you've understood, basically it was just a lesson of sovereignty, like that for a body, a sovereignty over your own body. And then there's so I'd say there's other trials as a collective
mm,
before that bottom, but then like I said before, they're like once you hit that bottom, and the next bit's super quick.
mm,
And
mm,
when I said this in the song, that's represented in like a 4 minute song, it's like a 10 seconds of the 4 minute song is the return.
mm, mm,
So that's the return. Sorry, yeah, the return, the atonement, um, and then the death and resurrection. So that all happens in 10 seconds. So that's what I was talking to you before. That there's a crescendo if you're following geopolitics, or you're following the economy, or you're
mm,
following the transgender agenda, or you're
mm,
following ritual abuse, or um, anything like even if you're following like the AFL, how they're doing like all the Marxist stuff through there, any different thing, they're all the stories are all building up,
mm,
and they're basically being laid in place in the initiation stage. So like I don't know, I think I said before we're in the quickening, but I don't think we're not quite there. It's like because you have unless we've already been through a cycle and we just go through another cycle because you play it out. And the
mm,
whole point of so I was listening to a lot of Joseph Campbell interviews recently, and the whole point is it's like when you've attained, you return with the elixir, and then you return to the ordinary world.
mm,
That you go back on another cycle.
mm,
So humanity, that's obviously going to be a long cycle. And I know Wilcock ties it into precession of the equinox, so that could be
mm,
that's one of the cycles too.
mm,
But then we're also within a jubilee. We're within the jubilee of 73. So this stuff that happened in 73, and they say with I think it's in Hebrew that when they have the jubilee, then there's a skipped year,
mm,
like a year of rest. It's kind of like the 6 days creation, the 1 day rest.
mhm,
They do that with the jubilee as well.
mhm,
So yeah, that's why I think like 24, 25 is going to be crazy. But if you follow that hero's journey, that there's the quick return, like I've mentioned this many times before, and then there's the final atonement with the Father and the death and resurrection. But the atonement is like so it's going to look like all is lost. I
mm,
don't know what that be. Um, but then yeah, at the end is like you're the master of two worlds. There's a spirit. You've integrated the spiritual and the physical,
mm, mm,
and that you must the both completely intersect and you act on both.
mhm,
And this is what like because I was looking at other movies that follow this, like Lord of the Rings does it really well when they so when they at the very start you've seen Lord of the Rings, haven't you? Yeah, mate. Fucking hell. I said this someone the other day. It's a hard one to go watch it because it's about 10 hours the whole thing. But
I think
at the
I've watched
beginning,
little bits of it, but I couldn't
yeah,
honestly.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. But you'll notice this in movies. When the movies start, the start scene and the end scene will be the same.
Mhm.
So it starts off with this music, and they're in the Hobbit town, and everything's normal. So that's like before you've even entered the unknown world. And then the final scene, they've been on this huge quest for 10 hours, and it goes back to the original scene. They return to
Hmm.
where the hobbits come from, but they're like strutting in because they've gone through all these trials and tribulations, and now they've mastered two worlds, and they go back to the town and nothing's changed. All the
Hmm.
people are all the same.
Hmm.
The angry guy's still angry, I mean, like, and so that's what the whole process is about. That when you come out of this, it's like, fuck, well, we've learned all this shit. Then what do you do now?
Hmm. Hmm.
You got all this, you're the master. So that's when we can create a new world. So I don't know. I didn't even answer the question, but
No, you did. I mean, you shared a lot of good information. You, um, I just want to pick up on one point that you said around like all the narratives playing out and coming to like a head, like a crescendo. So it's like doesn't matter what train that you're following, it's all coming
yeah,
to. uh, Do you feel? I don't know. This is just what I picked up on as you're saying it. So I want to see what you feel about it. Do you feel like, I don't know, something tells me moving into June and July is like a really active couple of months, like very kind of explosive, a lot happening all at once, maybe even a little bit chaotic. Do you think that as we move into the next couple of months, that might be hitting the crescendo of all those different narratives playing out and a lot of stuff coming forth to then maybe then move into the change in the financial system, like the dominoes like that?
yeah, they got. I mean, yeah, every month's going to be more's going to come out than the previous. I don't know if it's June, July. I don't know. You can tell me
What do
what, but
you
like you
feel?
did say,
What do you feel for June and July?
I mean, I just think the stories will keep building, but nothing gets done.
Yeah, okay.
Like, so that energy is going to be like especially like with the Biden thing in US politics. And so they released the Durham report yesterday. It's
Mm,
basically like showed that like Obama and Comey and Brennan, like, they're absolutely criminal what they've done, but nothing happens. It's like they've released a report, and so
mm,
they'll just, I just see more and more coming out that people will be so frustrated that how on earth
mm,
is there ever going to be justice?
mm.
Um, Nothing's happening, but just see just more and more of the stories coming. But I know you mentioned like Jupiter and Taurus
Yes. All right.
today, isn't it?
It
Today,
is today. It is
I
today.
got
So
something.
I know that like obviously that impacts us globally and it probably impacts some people more than others. I'm not an astrologer. I just go intuitively. Um, you being a Taurus, me being an ascendant Taurus, I thought what a perfect day to record on, even though we didn't plan it. What do you feel this transit may hold? Actually, no. My first question is based on 11, 12 years ago when we went through it, what happened during this period, this transit for you? I think it was 2011, 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, yeah. You tell me after this. Yeah, that was the biggest year in my
Mm,
awareness
mm,
expansion. That was
mm.
the last. I mean, I had a few different ones, but that was the big one. Like my head blew off that year. Yeah, I did. I got in contact with like a lot of people. I've told you like when I went to that David Icke event, that's just like everything changed and my whole energy changed after that. I met like Michael Tazarian.
Mm,
I went to Chichen Itza in that period.
mm,
My I got a new I started a whole new career then.
mm,
I broke up with my partner that year.
mhm,
Um, Everything, yeah, like I come into money. I had no money prior to that, and then I actually that year I started getting
mm,
money, and I didn't know what to do with it. I was going out ruthlessly spending and still saving. So it's like, yeah, like my
mm,
whole world changed that year, and I actually got a bit more respect because I'd like gone back to uni again. So
Mm,
it's kind of like a bit of a
mm,
so I know, yeah, like outward public perception and respect and stuff like went up that year.
mhm.
Yeah, it was huge. But yeah, were you the same?
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you're, well, I remember, I'm just going to say this. Um, you saw David Icke, and I haven't seen David Icke in, well, in live in presentation, but around that time I did see David Wilcock, and
Yeah, I was gonna go. I can't remember. I think I went overseas. I missed him. Yeah, he was in Melbourne, wasn't he?
which I had to make a note because I was going to say, Dale, I'm a bit disappointed that you didn't rock up wearing your sizzle jacket and your secret shoes.
Well, actually, you know, the last Jupiter in Taurus is when I read Source Field Investigations,
Yeah, and,
and
and
that blew my head off too.
yeah,
That massively, like, I still quote that book to this day. That was
yeah.
12 years ago.
That book changed a lot for me, and I respect his work. When
Amazing book.
after I saw him in, I think it was in Melbourne. It was like in a town hall somewhere on Swanston Street. I remember walking away from that, just, oh, I could feel the energy now. There was something really palpable and expansive in that room that changed me. And
Mm.
I think it was, for me personally, it was more connecting with sacred site. It activated the whole thing around sacred sites and energy and pyramid technologies. And that sent me on a whole quest to, I remember afterwards, I wanted to travel to every sacred site and go and experience every pyramid in the world. Like that. um,
Yeah, yeah, you said that.
but I think it really, yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Well, actually, do you know the because the other person that really changed my perspective was George Cavassos, and I read his book
All right.
it was around,
Mm,
yeah, it was the end of 2011. He brought
right.
that out, so I
Yeah.
read that. That's what I mean. My whole world shifted that last cycle.
Yeah, I think I went through a very big period of spiritual and expansion and growth. I can't really remember. Yeah, I definitely I started a new relationship around that time. I started a new job, which was more financially stable. Yeah, there was a lot of, yeah, it was a lot of big changes that occurred
So
that
that's good. Anyone that's Taurus Sun or Ascendant, like, it's
or
going to be a
even,
pretty big year. It's going to be a lot of change, and
yeah.
for the better, for the better,
Mm,
definitely. Because with Jupiter being abundance and Taurus being the most earthly sign,
mhm.
that's even a good. That's quite a good omen collectively, isn't it?
I think so. I definitely think so. And I think that ties into a lot of the abundance of financial themes. I think that energy pushing through is going to create a lot of positive change. And it may not be, Taurus is like a bit of a slow moving sign, you know, um, can be stubborn and not want to move. And then all of a sudden, progression happens. So,
Did you see? I did this like little quick video. Actually, I'll put it on TikTok. Got a TikTok account now. Thank you.
oh,
Anyway, yeah, I just did like a little video, like the last time Pluto was in Aquarius.
mm,
I didn't look at that much, but like just the most obvious ones,
mm,
fucking crazy. Like that was the U.S. Revolutionary War.
mm.
That was the French Revolution, and that was also the time of settlement in Australia.
Was it really?
And also, yeah, the US Revolutionary War again. So that's completely playing out. This is a 20-year cycle.
Hmm.
So the last time, and then look what's happening now that you've got this group, because Trump and that is real, they're really fighting the city of London. So it's the exact same forces again.
Mm,
And then the French are losing their shit. And Wilcock actually put in his book that the instigation of the toppling of the deep state was going to come out of France first, that you would see the signs in France, whether that
mm,
was a yellow vest or whether that's now. So then the last time that happened, they chopped the head off the king. And now they're losing it again. And that Macron and that's all tied to the Rothschilds and shit. That was the same group back then. And
mm.
then they tried a treaty with the tribes in Australia when they the invaders came, and now they're doing it again with the voice. So that's completely playing on the 200-year cycle. And then China got into a trade war with the West, and then China ended up completely. This is in the 1700s, the last Pluto cycle, and then when China pulled out, that's when America started getting their tea and stuff off the British, and then the taxes came in,
Mm.
um, and
Mm.
that led to the beginning of the U.S. Revolution, and China became like what do you call it, seclusionist or whatever, away from the West. They
Mm.
formed their own. So it's like, and that just brings up the like we're just living in this cyclic time loop, and so that's why like all these things, because Pluto in Aquarius brings revolution.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
it's it's inevitable. It's not like it's not going to happen. Like in 20 years, the world ain't
Mm.
going to be anything like it is now.
Do you feel like um, we've been in these cycles of revolution and looking at the astrology and things like that? Do you think that maybe this time will be slightly different in the fact that we're evolving and not just reverting into revolutionary cycle after another?
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, people probably said that after everyone, but like to me, I think
right.
I see them as like the grand cycles are individual opportunities for people to pull out of the cycle.
Yeah.
I think the cycle will. I think that within a timeline that will always play out,
Yeah.
and that is part of how certain souls will enter into um, a planetary agreement and play out those cycles until that individual soul wants to
Yeah.
remove from that cycle till they've completed it. But you can clearly see there's people here now that they're not ready to come out of that. They need to play. They need to keep playing those cycles, right? But
Mm.
like for me personally, I don't. I don't feel like I need to play this out again, and a lot of us don't.
Mm.
And I just see it as it's like I see it like as an energetic gateway or portal that you only at the end of these cycles do you have an opportunity to rebirth out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you kind of miss it, you just go back again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like they're big cycles, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
But and then that's like we talk about like different timeline shifts and that too. So maybe that you do bring a whole collective into possibly the organic timeline,
Mm.
and then other ones of what I've been talking about lately is like they're actually stuck in a synthetic construct.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're actually parallel against each other,
Mm.
and then some will just choose to stay, and that has purpose too. But then others are like, well, we're kind of sick of this game anymore. That we'll play like we can play an organic cycle that we don't need these
Mm.
extremes of learning and revolution to play out over and over again. That we can just create a new one.
Yeah. That the way you have explained that makes perfect sense, and it kind of has to, because everyone is at their own stage of evolution and needing different lessons and experiences. So it reminds me, and I think that's always how I've seen it, is that there will be different versions of reality that will play out for everyone on the different timelines, and they will coexist. We just won't be and we see that already in our day-to-day life. Think about people that you were connected with, and then all of a sudden they just drop away, and it's like, I've heard this multiple times from people recently of like, I can't even connect or relate to the people who were in my life, say, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like they don't you know exist.
Well, that's what you want. What's the term? They're not on my wavelength, right? And that is like a literal thing. They're literally
Mm.
not. There's a different. There's not a vibrational match.
Mm. Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and when you're with someone, and that doesn't mean they have to believe everything you believe, but like when you're vibing with someone, I fucking hate that term, but you know what I mean. Yeah, when you are, it's effortless.
Mm.
Whereas like sometimes, yeah, you can have someone you've been friends with for 10 years, and then you're like, I can't fucking talk to you anymore.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
I'm trying,
Mm,
there's nothing there.
mm,
There's no connection. It's lost.
yeah. And I think probably in the last 3 years, a lot of people have experienced that to very extreme degrees. Like that COVID period that we went through was a parting of the ways of the splitting of the realities. It was a big one for that.
And when you try and hang on to those friends or things from the past, and you shouldn't, but you can't. But you're trying to. That's the hero's journey. That's refusing the call,
Yeah.
because like you're being pushed to go on the call.
Mm,
You can't. Like you're
mm.
just trying to hang on to like you're trying to hang on to what was.
Yeah. I had this interesting experience a couple of weeks ago. Um, well, it was a couple of experiences that kind of teed into one another, and I'll just go through it really briefly. Um, this theme around the distribution of wealth has come out. I don't know exactly what that means, just that terminology is playing around in my head. But I had a visual representation of it one night going to bed, and you're gonna love this. I'm starting to fall asleep, and then I feel this presence in the room, and I sort of tune into it. I'm like, who are you? What? And it looks like stereotypical devil, red horns,
With the horns.
yeah. And I've seen this depiction on and off since February in different forms. And I just kind of was like, what do you want? Like, and what I got was that he was sort of like, when I see that, I see it as a representation of the inversion of the cabal, like it's not just one thing, it's all of the things that are kind of being dismantled. But in this particular scenario, it was the corrupt financial system, the debt system. And I was like, oh my, okay. I'm like, well, you need to go. Like, and I did this sort of clearing as I do when these energies. And as I did that, I saw all this beautiful gold energy coming into the planet. And what I kept hearing was distribution of wealth. And it was going to everyone. It was kind of finding its way and spreading out. And it was like this balancing, this equilibrium of this more abundant energy. So I had that experience, and then shortly followed by one afternoon, I think it was on a Saturday, I all of a sudden had this very strange sensation come over me. And I know when that happens, I have to go lie down. And as soon as I did, I heard, you need to eject from the matrix now. There's like this, and I was like, what? And it was like, go hit the button. You have to eject from the matrix now. And I was like, oh, okay. But what I saw was this, and this is playing into what we're talking about. I saw this sort of gold structure, which I believe is let's say, the organic nature of reality. And within that was this very dark, gloomy kind of matrix vibe energy. And it was showing me the two realities that are simultaneously playing out right now. And we get to choose which one we kind of align with vibrationally. And so, because I was kind of in this like not great place at that time, and it told me, eject yourself now, like switch, press the button, eject yourself. And since then, a lot of changes have shown up in my experience of kind of what people refer to as jumping timelines. So,
I mean, a lot of people do describe it as gold, don't they?
mm-hmm, yeah, yeah,
Which is interesting, because that's what they say, like the whole, once the central bank's done, that the whole new system's going to be based off like gold and silver commodities,
mm,
which would make sense, right?
yeah,
And if you talk about it as a golden age, I
yeah,
think that's why they do. I mean, Trump is very much the archetype of the golden man, right? That's like
literally.
that. Yeah, it's like, why does he wear that stupid like bronzed like face and that? Like and his hair's got like golder. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
even blonde. It's like gold. Um, yeah, and that's, to me,
Does
that's
he, does
not
he
a
have like
coincidence.
spray tan? Like, how does he get that complexion?
Yeah, I think he spoke about it before. I think it's a spray. it's fuck. It's like that's become his thing, but like kind of. And it was kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Like he should like bring the tone down like a little bit,
Yeah.
or just get a normal tan.
Mm. Yeah, gold free.
But
Well,
yeah, no, but you're right. Like I 100% buy into. I mean, I 100% buy into that. There is like, if you call it like a simulation, or there is like an artificial construct, 100%, and that the jabs and all the transhumanism, it's all about that.
mm,
And that's why I spoke recently at the this simulation that DARPA created, and it's basically like the Earth into another simulation. And because I spoke to you about like compression of realities before,
oh
so I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, if there's an artificial false god or whatever that's replicated the true creator,
Mm,
then if the organic universe compresses itself, then wouldn't the artificial? And I'm like, well, of course it does. It's a mimic, right?
mm-hmm.
So of course they're creating a another compressed version of the synthetic construct. And what it is for me, like I think like near the end of the cycle that the natural energy permeating through is so strong
Mm,
that it can't keep you within this artificial construct that it's already got. So it needs to create another one. It's got to compress
mm,
or trap your soul into another
mm.
prism within a prism within a prism. Like it just keeps going down until, and like that's what I mean. How far are we down now? Even in the synthetic construct,
Mm,
and
mm,
it's like the movie Inception. Like you just keep going down and down and down, and then what's like, well, what's true? It's like that. That's what I think the intuition is like. That's the only way you connect to the organic, the intuition,
mm,
and connecting with the earth.
mm.
And it's like everything goes back to that. Everything goes back to that.
Yeah,
But doesn't that make sense though too? That it's like it's if everything compresses, and the artificial must compress as well.
mm-hmm. Yeah, makes complete sense.
So to me, that's the reality split.
Yeah,
Is the natural energies coming in, so those are just going to tune to that,
yeah,
right? You're just going to
mm,
naturally attune to that energy through your intuition, connecting with people in nature, and other people that are I don't want to say like everyone that's taken a jab or whatever, but people that are hooked to that system through
mm,
belief systems, dogma, technology, everything.
mm.
They're just going to sink back into another compression of the
Yeah,
synthetic simulation without even knowing it.
yeah.
Like they're already falling. So that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Do you think it's predestined on a soul level?
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah.
You have free will, and you do not have free will.
Right?
Yeah,
um,
it is great, but yeah, you do your fucking head in when you start thinking about that.
mm, yeah.
Um, because 100%, you still have free will. Like you control your behavior here, but
Mm,
it's it was predestined by the soul.
yeah. I think that there is like the way I understand it is there's divine will and free will. Um, and I think we have when I look at it as like a path, I think we have we have already set out for ourselves in this incarnation prior to coming here. And I think we can do little variants of it, as
Yeah,
trying to exercise, a free will. But I think if we get too far off the path, so to speak, I think that's where the universe like gives us a little slap and sort of kicks us back onto our path. That's how I've always understood it for me anyway, is like I've got all these things that I need to do and accomplish, and it's like if I stray too far from away from that, something catastrophic happens, and I get like thrown back to, um,
yeah,
yeah. So,
yeah. I mean, to some degree, um, we've been hijacked by this synthetic force,
mm,
right? In this simulation, we've been that has hijacked us and our perceptions, which has controlled our actions. But at the highest level, you actually chose to go into that construct too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's I just want to like throw that out there for people who are going through more challenging circumstances, you know, as we go through our initiations. And initiations only incrementally feel more intense as we go through them. Like, remember that it's serving, you know, don't go into, as much as you can, stay away from being the victim, and see how that initiation is testing you and actually serving you to grow into your sovereignty, into your personal power, and things like that. I think that's a really important thing, because it's so easy to go into, oh, why does this always happen to, you know, or whatever it might
Yeah,
be. So,
yeah. And I know like my situation's not difficult. I know a lot of people's is
mm,
extremely.
mm,
So yeah, it's not downplaying
yeah, yeah.
anyone's experience too. Because I get that a lot when you start talking about the high level stuff. Some people get really angry. They're like, "Well,
Mm,
you know, because like, whatever's happening in their life or what, yeah, it's and
mm,
that's fair enough. But it's just like just so people know that we're talking from that high level, but
yeah, yeah,
it doesn't mean it doesn't deter away from real life struggles.
yeah. And one
But
thing,
it is a good basis point to come from that to like that's kind of what keeps you going too when you understand that.
exactly. And one thing I've thought about recently is you could be most awakened, spiritually aware person of the higher perspective, yet when you're being tested and you're going through your initiation, it's like you get disconnected from that perspective while you're going through what you need to go
Yeah,
through.
you don't want to hear that bullshit when it's
Yeah.
happening. It's like, no, I've gotta yeah.
But it's
It is
coming back into that is kind of the remedy, if you will.
yeah, it's
Uh,
always having that to come back to.
mm, mm, yeah.
And I actually think that that kind of like I know for me, like I've never had mental illness or anything, but I feel like that like does that stop people from becoming long term depressed and stuff? Because like you just have that understanding.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I have a very different perspective on mental health and illness just based off my work and my experience. I I won't go into it. It's a long
What
run.
about that? What's that lady's name you interviewed again that worked in
Oh,
that hospital?
Louise. Yeah.
Oh, she was brilliant. I actually like. You should give me her details. I actually wouldn't mind doing a. I wouldn't mind doing a chat with her.
Please
That
do.
was super.
Actually, I will,
That
because
was really. That
mm,
was really interesting because
yeah.
I heard someone else. There was another person similar story. That's what made me think of her the other week, and I'm like,
Mm,
fuck, she would actually be really cool to have a chat with.
yeah. Maybe if you're open, yeah, we'll talk later. We'll organize something, because
Yeah, oh yeah, we're still
I've
recording.
been thinking about her a lot recently. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's time.
Yeah, no, I just thought of it the other day, and it was probably about a year ago that I first heard her.
Yeah, and I really enjoy her perspective, and she's, you know, and I think we align with a lot of things of when you've worked in those, like, as you have as well to some degree, when you've worked in mental health, like, and you have a spiritual perspective, or you can perceive entities and things like that, you see it all from such a very different
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think one of my greatest learnings was working in that industry and realizing that if I was to truly make a difference in the world in the way that I knew that I couldn't do it inside the system, because there's too much.
pretty difficult. Pretty difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is that we are, you know, and it's a big topic. No, let's save that for a
Yeah,
whole
let's get
other
that. Sorry, yeah, sorry, I just thought of it. Just
let's save that for a whole other podcast, because that's a big
yeah,
topic. But I think we've been going for a while now, and
yeah. About my thing's gonna run out of battery.
yeah, I just had to connect mine. So, any final thoughts or anything you want to share before we wrap up that we haven't touched on?
Uh, oh yeah, I'm doing a talk this
Ah,
Friday.
oh, cool. Yeah.
So it's called the non-conformist series. It's like an offshoot from Anarchapulco. It's run by the same people.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know Anarchapulco and that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like it's like Jeff Berg's talking and um, Andrew Kaufman and Sol Luckman and Campbell, who I spoke with in Lismore,
Mhm.
and me. So yeah, I'm doing a yeah. People can. It's on my Telegram page. So they want to sign up, so you
Okay.
can sign up and watch it. You can watch it for free,
Mhm.
but you gotta watch it live. And then I think I'm doing a roundtable on Friday morning.
Mhm.
And then if people want to purchase, you can purchase it after if you missed it. But if you want to watch it live, it's free.
Okay,
So
awesome. We'll put the details. So that's just
yeah,
on your Telegram that people can.
yeah, it's like one of the. I'll send you a link for it. You
All
can
right,
just
I'll put
screenshot
the
it.
link in the description box below if that is of interest to anyone
And
coming up in the next few days.
yeah, I don't know. Just like yeah, I'm like 1 foot in, 1 foot out at the moment. I'm just kind of like just observing
Mm.
and not being triggered by as much. I think that's kind of that's kind of key.
Mm.
I kind of pull back from people that are getting so triggered by anything, but then I'm like maybe I should be more passionate. But I just don't. You can't make yourself passionate about something. You know, people are like, why aren't you angry about this? I'm like, I just fucking aren't, man. Like I can't. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm not, so I don't know. I don't know if that's anything to finish on. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
what?
like you. I mean, like use your passion to. If you're passionate towards something, then that's great. Like,
Mm,
um,
use it.
jump
Use it.
straight in, but don't do it through like triggering emotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just, yeah, I'm interested to see what's gonna play out. We'll have to do another chat soon.
I was about to say thank you, Dale. This has been a long one. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this catch up that I've organized with Dale. Thank you so much. We will try and do this on a more regular basis because then we can keep them shorter and we're not catching up on like.
Ah,
So
yeah,
thank you.
thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. And yeah, in the description box, all the details to connect with Dale or myself. And until next time, yeah, stay safe, everyone. Stay in your heart space and don't forget the bigger picture. And we'll connect soon. Thank you. Bye.